is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Now, don't text the show, please, because we are not live today. I have to admit that. But you can still follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and what's the other one called?
Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. Thanks for your help there. I don't often work with a prompt, but I find as the years advance, I'm glad of it.
Quite terrifying for me because I'd forgotten the word for Instagram as well.
I like that.
It's forgettable.
I said it with a slight note of contempt in my voice as well. Like, Dad should have been after that. Instagram.
I thought you left it for a bit thinking, is he up to something here? Is this some sort of flourish? Is it a comic flourish? And then it was just forgetfulness, but nevertheless. Yeah. We were just talking off air. There's a whole world off air, which I sometimes think we should have a podcast called The Frank Skinner Show Off Air, which was just the stuff that we talk about. I'm joking, guys.
I'm fine with not doing that, but as you were.
Yeah.
We talked about one called Absolute Filth once. Do you remember that? Do you remember Absolute Filth? Anyway, that's enough of that. Oompa, oompa, that's enough of that in the old bazaar in Cairo.
Frank, we could call, if we did Frank Skinner off air, why don't we just call it How to Get Cancelled in 5 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what you mean. We were, yes, I was just, Faye, who is the assistant producer on the show, is from, I could be doing it wrong here, but I believe that she's from Stratford-upon-Avon. She certainly dwelt there. And I was talking about the fact that I knew someone who used to insist on saying Stratford-upon-Avon as a sort of a, joke, really, I suppose. And also there's a part of London called Crouch End, which people used to call Cruchon again. And then Fanny said, one I've never heard, that Stevenage is sometimes known as Saint Evanage.
Right.
And I think probably wrongly think tremendous ill of people who say these things. But at the same time, I would like to know if there's any more. So if anyone can think of any other... I think you had one, did you?
Yeah,
Emily?
I had Muesli Hill, which is Muswell Hill, which I think was probably coined at a time when muesli was considered the height of middle-class elitism, to have muesli.
Yeah. Like mobile phone used to be just yoppies.
Yes.
Yes.
And my mother would say, I think in an attempt to give, when we lived in an area called Wood Green briefly, my mother referred to it as Forêt Vert to make it sound slightly posher.
Wow, that is good, yeah. So if you've got any of those, I'd love to hear them because, I don't know, I'm strangely attracted to them and horrified by them at the same time. The way one might look at an automobile accident on the motorway. Anyway, it's hello guys. We obviously can't see each other, but it's nice just to hear your voices is lovely. And we are in where are we? What are we calling current lockdown? Is it still semi, or is it? Is there another? Is it relaxed lockdown?
Yeah, I think it's gone loosey, hasn't it?
It's loose lockdown, I'm calling it.
Would you say we were on the latch?
Loose down.
So
that's great. We're
out of the house, but we haven't. We've just put the thing in, whatever it is that you do when you stop the door from locking when it shuts. That's where I feel we are. I've been doing that classic lockdown thing of tidying things which I thought I'd never tidy. You know, there's a level of this tidying that you have to do in order to live. And then there's sort of deep, almost structural tidying, which is things that they're not in the way, but you want to tidy them. And I'm in a sea of VHSs.
Oh.
I mean, I'd say I've got 1,000 VHSs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this
And
back
I'm
to the
looking.
Frank Skinner merchandise?
No, I'm looking.
It's rather rude,
no,
Alan.
There are all sorts. Many of them are the great musical films, I've noticed. But
sure
I'm
they are.
looking for. Well, I'll explain what I'm looking for after. But I think I've got about 1,000, and I've got plans.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I was talking about VHS. Actually, what does VHS stand for? Hello.
Over to Alan.
You still
in
there,
our
guys?
tech.
I'm
Oh,
guessing it's
video.
something like video home.
Screen.
Oh, can you believe we
Something.
don't know that between the three of us?
It's already obsolete and we don't know it.
Yeah, but we lived with it for a long, long time, didn't we? When the VHS was at the centre of our entertainment universe. And we never got to find out what it stood for. I got it. If only we were live. Can you imagine the text we'd be getting now? It'd be flooding in.
I mean,
I'm
gutted is
sure
quite a strong
somebody-
response.
Somebody
but
would be
I like
texting
to-
saying that Betamax were technically better.
Yeah, well, that to me is more technical. I'm on a point where I like to think if there's anything I don't know what it means, I always ask people. I can't believe I just let VHS slide by all those years. So I've got them, and I'm thinking that most of them I'll never play again. One of the reasons being I don't have a VHS player. And so there was a name for that as well, wasn't there? Anyway,
Video
so
VCR.
VCR, what did that stand for?
Oh, come
So,
on. I didn't know
um,
VHS.
Video
How am I
cassette
gonna know
recorder.
that?
Video cassette.
Yeah, that's good,
recorder,
Alan.
But it played.
Good, Alan. Nice
So
work,
anyway,
Alan.
one of the things I considered, now what do you think of this as a practical possibility, is unravelling them and making beaded curtains for the poor.
That's a good idea.
You see, I think, but hear me out. I think in the age of
said a word.
the global pandemic, one of the things that people talk about as in the public enemy category is door handles, that they pick up a great deal of bacteria. And it seems to me a reintroduction and a repopularising of the beaded curtain is imminent.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think people would like the idea that they were formerly VHSs. I'm operating now from the same school as those people who like the idea that they're buying a clock that used to be a vinyl record.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
You
Back
know
in the
what I mean.
Yes.
Is it called upcycling?
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely, Alan.
Thank you.
I think of it as overt recycling.
Right.
In that you
Also
can
a
very
catchy
clearly
name for
see
it.
what it used to be.
My
Yeah,
concern
but
about
upcycling is good.
the VHS ribbons, Frank, I mean, surely the whole point of the beaded curtain was they provided some flair and colour into often an otherwise dull interior scheme. And the sludge brown, dirt grey colouring of the VHS ribbons just makes me feel rather depressed.
Yeah, but
Your
I'm
witness.
talking about those men in their late 40s, early 50s who wear jeans with a pinstripe jacket. I'm calling it Jules Holland Orchestra chic. Who want to show that they like music as some sort of I'm not completely washed up and worthless. And so they like these are the men that buy the upcycled, I'm using the word now, or the overtly recycled vinyl as clocks. And I think the VHS curtain would buy into that. So I'm talking about men in black Doc Martens with jeans and a shirt and a pinstripe jacket.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I was talking about the concept of what I like to call over recycling, but which Al tells me is called upcycling.
Oh, yeah.
Can you offer an example? I'm thinking of an example now specifically.
Well, there's I know an example. There's a manufacturer of bags that use tarpaulin sheets, like from the side of freight shipping.
And
sound
tires,
nice.
I've seen that. No,
They sound
actually,
lovely.
they are nice.
Courier bags. They're cool.
Yeah, the problem with them is they're too nice. That's too successful. As you know,
Oh, you wanted a bad
on
example.
this show, I'll tell you what one is. Let's make this I'd like people to maybe tweet or whatever about this. Worst over recycling. And I'm thinking I would put the vinyl record clock. I would put quite high up there. The other one.
Yeah.
What about the Coke can toy car?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
When you know that everything is just someone is saying, guess what? I know this is not a great toy car because it's sharp on the edges and stuff. But if you look not too closely, you'll see that we've actually made this from a Coke can.
Yes.
So really what we're buying is their idea, not the product.
Does it
I'm
have
going to run
to
another
have...
one by you, which you might
Go on.
never have come across. The fork bracelet.
There's not a fork.
Do you know that one?
bracelet.
Yeah. So forks, as in knife and,
Yes.
and they're bent around. And what they do, they flare the prongs into almost like it's chrysanthemum-like formation at the end.
Uh-huh.
And it used to be a thing. Lots of girls used to wear them in Birmingham, I remember, the fork bracelet. I don't know if they're still around. I'd love to know from you guys.
Was this, genuine question, was this Uri Geller merchandise?
No, but that God, he could have not. He would have been the Henry Ford of the fork bracelet. He could have just
really
banged
would have.
on.
On a Ford.
They could have brought boxes. They could have set up in Sheffield at near a cutlery thing, and they could have. He could have got a job surreptitiously at a local cutlery factory, and then took them in as, oh, look what these ones have gone. These are unusable.
Yeah.
I'll take them off your hands if you like. Take them off your hands and put them on your wrists. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm surprised Yuri didn't think of it.
There was a brief vogue. Do you remember? I think it was in the 80s for the bricks as used in bookcases. You'd have planks of wood and bricks. The bricks would form the barrier between the bookshelves, the planks of wood.
No,
do you not
I don't
recall that?
remember that.
Oh, it's very bachelor
Well,
pad.
I don't like to sound very chic, but our kitchen,
Don't worry.
we have some shelving that's made out of old scaffolding beams. Very chic. Sanded down,
No, but
upcycled, if you will.
But is it overt, Risa? Can you see that they are that, or
yes.
is it hidden?
I suppose if you squinted, yeah.
I watched a documentary last night about the Mona Lisa, and it was suggested, actually it wasn't quite suggested, I arrived at this from my own theorising, that the way he'd used the spumato technique on the mouth is that if you squint, the smile broadens and becomes more obvious. And it worked. Just squint a little bit and suddenly she's grinning her head off. Try it.
We've moved on from Bob Ross.
Here we are.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I'm wearing shorts. I have worn shorts for the whole of lockdown. And these ones that I'm wearing they are perishing. I don't mean, I have finished that sentence. I'm not going to say they're perishing drafty, Mr. Holmes. I'm not going to say that. You know, people, I'm not sure if this is a thing or not, but one sees people in ripped jeans, obviously, on a regular basis.
Yes.
Is ripped shorts a thing? Because these shorts now, one of the rare cases of actually something which is naturally ripping rather than being bought ripped or being ripped for fashion purposes. But is ripped shorts, is that a commonplace also? Or have I invented something?
Can I just check? Are they jean shorts, Frank?
No,
I'm just wondering if it's. I'm just envisaging a sort of incredible Hulk.
Talking about cut-offs.
Can anybody offer an image that gets the image I've got of Frank in denim hot pants out of my head, please?
No, Al, I'm going much more Hulk.
Gold. They're gold ones, like Kylie Minogue wore in... what was that video? Turning around or...
Spinning around, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So... Can a jean short, you're asking? Can a
No, it's not jeans. They're not jeans.
Okay, calm down, everyone. We've all had a drink.
They're a sort of combat short.
Oh.
One could imagine me in the desert in these. But they have... Do people bother to rip shorts? Because, they're already sort of... God has ripped them, if you know what I mean. In that the bottoms are missing.
If they've got a combat motif, I imagine they might do that in a sort of Andy McNabb, I'm tough way. But that doesn't strike me as your brand, really. So I'm afraid it might just look like your shorts are perishing, as you've said.
They are perishing. The perishing drafties. Yes. I just wondered, I can't think now of seeing anyone in ripped shorts. I think I might have started something big. As I think Karl Marx said. Anyway.
Frank, we've had some outside world responses, by the way, in relation to place names that are given a sort of comical twist.
What, like Stratford-upon-Avon?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Bob Singleton has tweeted us.
Where is that? Where's that place? Oh, sorry, I thought he was one. Go on.
Bob says, I say Battersea instead of Battersea.
Oh, Bob.
Bob's fun.
Battersea. It's quite nice. I could imagine that as a sort of a country house called Battersea.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also have Tomkin. Okay. These are London so far, but we have got non-London, which we'll come to presently. But we have Chiswick for Chiswick.
Oh, yes.
I'm not quite sure what that's meant to convey.
I don't like that so much.
But we also have St. Ockwell for Stockwell. That's from the CMC.
Oh. So obviously the ST thing is often turned into a saint prefix. Yes. Okay, yes, just working it out just thinking out loud, guys. Don't relax. Everything's going to be all right.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I was reading that bookshops are going to be opening this week. Did you hear that?
Oh, lovely.
That's exciting.
Yeah, this was what I read, which threw me somewhat. Waterstones, obviously one of the major booksellers in this country, said that their policy will be once somebody picks up a book to look at it, that no one else will be able to touch that book for 72 hours.
Oh. Is that right?
Because, you are liable to leave your terrible slime on it, your killer slime. How is that going to work, would you say? Will there be a sort of a sin bin of contamination? I'm going to call it contamination, where you put any book that you look at. I just don't know how that will affect my perusing.
I'm immediately worried about some baddies just walking down the aisles with their hands all over every book, and then they've got a shot for 3 days.
Like kids used to drag a stick down railings, you know that?
Exactly.
That
yes, and also,
doing that with your poison fingers.
As a published author, and you are in this category, Frank Skinner, what we don't want is rival authors going into these bookshops, sabotaging our book sales.
Exactly.
Intentionally touching them so they get placed in the contaminatia.
Well, also, who's going to be watching? Who's the contaminatia monitor? Who's going to be saying, "Excuse me, don't put that"? Excuse me, hello. Don't put that back in on the shelf. That goes obviously in the contaminatia.
Yeah.
I like the idea that we would do a text in called "Who's the Contaminatia Monitor?" That would be the most surreal we'd ever done, Frank.
But it would. I imagine it's a bit like there's a thing called the pensieve in Harry Potter where you put all your thoughts, and it's like a bubbling cauldron. I imagine it's a sort of a book version of that with the bacteria sort of on simmer, as it were. It's going to be very complicated, though. I don't know how they're going to do it. I wonder if they should. We used to, at school, I remember, used to have to put our books in... we used to have to make covers out of wallpaper that was left over.
Yes.
Every home then had wallpaper that was left over. People were the worst calculators of how many rolls required to wallpaper their homes. And so we would use the wallpaper to cover the books. And maybe that, I don't know if that would help or not.
We had that. I had a lot of Laura Ashley, floral.
Oh,
Rather
that
nice.
sounds nice.
I'm afraid... Go on, Al.
I had that stuff. What's the stuff with the like lumps of paper behind it?
Anaglypta.
Airtex?
I think it's wood chip.
Oh. Anaglypta is that stuff that looks slightly raised.
Oh,
and
the
you often
foamy
sort of
stuff.
paint over. No, not so
was
much
it Pebble
foamy.
Dash? Pebble Dash
It was
book.
more. It was in relief. It was wallpaper in relief. I'm going to call it that. It's a fresco wallpaper.
Just so you know,
Anyway,
someone has been in touch, Frank, and said, what is the worst example? We asked, what is the worst example of overt recycling? We gave the example of a vinyl clock. I'm afraid Stuart has responded saying, you're stuck in the 70s. It's all about the CD clocks these days.
Oh, well, that's fair enough. But surely that is in a way, even worse because it lacks that sort of classiness that the man with the pinstripe jacket and jeans puts on vinyl. It's got nothing going for it at all. And also they're screaming out, coasters, coasters, coasters. That's what old CDs say to me.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can't text us today because we're not live. I apologise for that, but it's the facts. You can, however, still follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us through the Absolute Radio website. I said through, I meant via. But, you know, we're going to really fall out over that? Come on. So,
Boys... What about this? We've just had this in, and as an example of overt upcycling. This is from Neil Critchley on Twitter, who says the glass window from a washing machine used as a fruit bowl.
Oh, that's good.
I've never seen that.
I'm very up for that.
Is that something that exists or something that he has imagined?
I'm assuming
might
it
have done it.
exists. Yeah.
Wow. That's no, I've never seen that. I find you do get these things in shops, but there'll be a stall. Well, someone will have a stall where they've thought, I know what I'll do. Like me with my VHS beaded curtains. I was also wondering if they could be like place settings, and the two holes could have a knife and a fork in the holes. Just a thought.
Well, have you thought of pulling out the sort of ribbon of tape and perhaps going for some kind of novelty wig idea?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is the age of the novelty wig. I feel there's something, one could build with them. When I hold them in my hands, I feel I could build with them. They've got a brick-like feeling and lightweight. Russell Howard's armchair on his news programme. I wondered if one could make... I could imagine the Jules Holland band relaxing in VHS armchairs. Oh, man, they love that in the dressing rooms.
Of course, I find
Perhaps
the tyre... Sorry, Frank.
No, I was thinking, go on, carry on.
We haven't raised the tyre The tyre is a big overt upcycling element. I've seen it because that can be used as a sort of plant pot, can't it? External plant pot. And the crock. The crock is often used as a sort of wall hanger for plants.
Is that
Is
right?
it?
Yes.
With the tyre, I thought you meant as a chimpanzee entertainment centre. I hadn't seen it used in gardens.
I think gardening is where a lot of this upcycling happens. In fact, just a week or so ago, I was recruited by my wife to carry a Belfast sink across the street from a neighbour so that we could use it as a flower bed. Heavy.
Yeah, I saw someone growing gladioli in a deceased Labrador carcass.
Hang.
No, I didn't. I made that up. I
What's
don't
wrong
know.
with you?
I just think you could imagine sort of, it's making its own compost. But I don't know, maybe you're wrong. Wouldn't that be lovely? Because when you wore those
No.
blooms in your lapel, you've got your pet, some of...
Oh, my God.
Gone but not forgotten.
Exactly, gone and still worn. Yeah. I think I've told you many times that my dad buried, our dog died, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and my dad buried it under the apple tree in our garden, and said that he was always told as a young child that if you bury a dead dog under an apple tree, it improves the flavour of the fruit.
He was full of wisdom, wasn't he?
He was. He had. He knew many, many wrong things with tremendous conviction.
Salt in the eye.
Yeah. Well, that worked, I think. But the dog went under there, and I remember that my dad found a piece of, I suppose it was driftwood, if you can have driftwood.
Still persisting
on
with this
land.
one.
Yeah, and what he did is it looked in profile, it looked a bit like the dog, or the head of it did. So he put that as a sort of a headstone for the dog. And he actually put Shep, it was called. He put Shep's collar on it where the neck would have been, and so we had a sort of a wooden modern art representation of the deceased as a headstone. Meanwhile, he was underground working on the apples.
God.
See, recycling at its most overt. I think you'll agree.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So we haven't really spoke of the week's activities. What's going on?
Well, one of the stories that's been in the news this week is Prince Philip's birthday celebrations.
Oh yes,
And when I say
99.
celebrations, apparently he doesn't want a big deal. He wants quite a kind of quiet affair.
I suppose if you're a member of the royal family, having a non-formal meal would be like a party for the rest of us.
Yeah.
So, he's
Well, apparently-
99 though.
99.
Yeah.
So I
It
think
is.
he's waiting till next year, because when he turns 100, he gets a letter from the Queen or a telegram or something. So he's looking forward to
how
that.
will
Yeah.
that be? I'm sure I was horrified to discover that the Queen no longer signs those cards
Is that
that
right?
Really?
people get on their 100th birthday. They're sort of just printed with her signature on.
Oh, spoils
Now,
it.
this is, I presume, a combination of her getting old and being less inclined to sit signing things, and also maybe more people making it to 100. But even so, it's not that many, is it, to sign? I think if you live to 100, I bet Philip gets the proper handwritten thing.
He's
Yeah.
probably going to get one even on his 99th birthday, not even the 100th, isn't he?
Well, I suppose he gets one every birthday, come to think of it.
Wouldn't
Does he get one like the card Alan Sugar gave his wife, which
What
said
was that?
with best wishes, AMS, I believe.
Oh, really? I saw his Rolls Royce once in a street with the AMS one on it. Anyway, when you're 99, do you think it's like when you're a batsman on 99 that you start treading more carefully, not wanting to miss out on the ton.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to have a real year when he's going to be treated like a cut glass decanter, with his eyes on the prize of 3 figures.
Well, to be fair, I think people have always trod rather carefully around him.
Yes.
I mean, he's someone I'd be slightly wary of offending or upsetting in any case. Apparently, he's celebrated with a family Zoom chat. So
yes, he's good on the technology, isn't he?
That's unlikely, that, isn't it? I suppose it's just because an ex-military guy. It was all done in Morse code.
We could have, Frank. We already have the expression on this show, still alive at 95, don't we? Or 85,
yes.
I believe. So we could do still online at 99. That's what I think we should have for Phil.
Very good.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one obvious treat, isn't there, for his party?
Well, I don't know
for
if
his
we can
99th birthday.
Oh, okay.
No, but I don't think he does that anymore. I think it's... he could have... no, but you could get him a 99. Surely somebody in the royal household have had the idea of getting him a 99.
That is a good idea.
You know,
and also it's a nice soft food, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've got
nice
it, Frank.
and soft.
A bit of upcycling. Get the 99 symbol from one of the ice cream vans as a lamp. That would look lovely.
Oh, man, he'd love. Of course, that's classic overt recycling, is the wine bottle with candle wax on it, lamp.
Very good.
Oh, yes.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I went to an ice cream van once. I said, do you go to an ice cream van? What do you do? Do you attend an ice cream van?
Approach.
Anyway, I approached an ice cream van and there was a handwritten biro sign.
Oh, on cardboard.
That said, it stuck to the thing, that said, ice cream cone with inserted chocolate flake bar. And then whatever the price was. And I said, is that like a 99? He said, yeah, but I do them myself. And I was threatened by the 99 people that I couldn't use the phrase. I said, wait, what? And he said, yeah, we're told that there's like a copyright thing on it. So I have to...
Really?
Yeah, so he sort of spoilt the 99 by sort of, it was like when you see a magician, you don't know how it's done.
Yeah.
You don't want the innards.
He'd broken it down to its ingredients. But
when I'm eating a 99, I don't like to think about a legal wrangle. It's just one of the things.
No. But there wasn't the famous thing, I think, in Glasgow. I'm going now to Alan, our Scottish correspondent. Wasn't that famous for ice cream wars at some point when there was lots of arguments about who parked their van where and stuff like that?
Oh,
yeah,
is that
I think
right?
they got very violent.
I think they did get, as I said, they were in Glasgow. Yeah, and I think there was crushed nuts, I think was one of the options.
Very good.
Yeah, so obviously there's a whole bubbling underworld, not unlike the opening of Blue Velvet, where the man you got an idyllic scene of a man mowing his lawn and then he has a heart attack, and as he drops in the undergrowth of the grass, there's all these insects fighting and killing each other and stuff underneath the blissful scene. It's kind of what the ice cream wars were like, I think.
Lovely.
Can I tell you both something? I don't trust people. That's it. No, I don't trust people.
What should we talk about next?
Enough about me, who approach ice cream vans and buy anything other than what I'm going to call a live ice cream. An ice cream prepared on the spot. You go for a 99. You go, that's part of the joy, is seeing the machine come down. What I hate is when people say, we'll have a strawberry mivvy or something, a strawberry split.
Cornish
and then they just
mivvy.
get the wrapper, Cornish mivvy. So, I mean, that just to me, I just think that person's a bit unimaginative and I don't want them in my friendship group.
I just assume that they're germaphobes and they want something with a wrapper on it because they don't know where the ice cream person is washing their hands.
No, and we don't know how long that ice cream's been in there.
Yeah.
Either.
That's part of the thrill.
Yeah.
Live a bit.
There was a great irony.
Remember Sky
on the,
Ray? Do you remember Sky Ray? That was like a sort of a rocket ship ice lolly. I did like those. It really made me feel like I was living in the space age. Sorry, carry on now.
There was a great irony on the Daily Mail website this week because they celebrated Prince Philip's 99th birthday by having an article up called 99 Prince Philip Facts. And and it said at the bottom, the comments below have not been moderated, which I thought, that seems right, yeah.
Why break the habit of a lifetime?
Exactly.
Did it then say it's what he would have wanted?
Exactly, yeah.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were discussing the fact that the Duke of Edinburgh was 99 this week.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, do you buy into the theory? You must have heard this theory. It was oft mooted about the Queen Mother. The reason she lived to such a great age was that, I'm calling it the drafty castles theory, that she grew up in a lot of cold, drafty castles and that toughened her up.
Oh.
Oh, really?
I never
sort
heard
of
this
a version
theory.
of the Spartan sleeping on the step outside.
Yes.
It was that kind of. I grew up in a council house where we used to get ice on the inside of our bedroom windows in the winter. So what age should I be looking forward to based on this?
150?
I don't think it was hard living, was it? The tough conditions she had to put up with. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it was often. If anyone out there who works in what area of science would that be? The study of the elderly.
Oh.
Thanks for that.
We don't know.
I'll put that on the VHS list. Let us know if there could possibly be any truth in that, because, like I say, although you two are clearly confused, I've heard it said a lot.
I'm sorry, to stand up for us, this sudden VHS list, which is random questions you fire at us, which you personally don't know the answer to, I'm not having it.
No, well, I'm on it. I'm on the list.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
As long as we're all on it, the list.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I looked at the 99 facts about the Duke of Edinburgh. One of them was that he loves Mary Berry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently. They stick together, that lot.
That lot. Well, the elderly.
Yeah, the frighteningly elderly. Yeah. There's the elderly, and then there's a whole different branch, sort of underground branch of the elderly, where they're older than anyone else.
One of my favourite items on that list, entitled 99 Things You Didn't Know About Prince Philip, was it said that he once operated a bulldozer whilst digging out a water garden at Balmoral. And I have to say, if there's something which I would call the thing I can most imagine Prince Philip doing, it would be soaring around. It would be like manically in a bulldozer, like decimating rose bushes. And I can imagine like animals and children just like lying strewn in the path, and him saying, "Well,
And him
get their eyes
swearing.
open."
Him really
Balls.
swearing in a posh accent. I mean, like really wildly. Yeah, another fact.
Funny things. There's funny things in there.
Yeah,
He did say funny
he's got
things.
material out.
He really does, though. He met some females in a hospital, and he asked them how old they were, and one of them said, "I'm 104 and my friend is 101," and he said, "I don't believe you. Women always take 10 years off." That's good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now that is good stuff. There was a
That's
few
not a
really
million
good.
miles from, like, you know, when comedians say to an audience member, how old are you? Oh, it'd be rude to ask that. What do you weigh? You know, it's very close to that sort of joke.
No, it's interesting because the young royals are completely joke-free zones, I would say. I never heard of Harry, Wills, any of their partners, or any of the, Eugenies. I never, ever heard of anything accredited to them which was comical in any way whatsoever. There you go. That's them summed up in essence, and you can imagine how much that fact increases my respect for them as people.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
On the new series, which we're now running, 99 Things About the Duke of Edinburgh. One of the ones that I saw, was it the Mail it was in? To be fair,
so.
I want to give
I think a
full
couple of the
credit.
papers did it, but yeah, the Mail did one of them.
They had the idea. We decided, we had a meeting, me, Al and Emily, and decided to wait for the big 100, and now I think we've been slightly undercut. I made a mistake there.
Yeah.
We didn't really. But anyway, he was mentioned in dispatches, which I always like, which I think often entails a medal. He was in a battle when he was on a Royal Navy ship. And what he did was he operated the searchlights.
Wow.
So it's like a boom operator. Not boom operator. What do they call the guy who's on the spotlight?
Oh, no.
Oh, the
In a
follow
theatre.
spot.
VHS
Yeah, follow
list.
spot. He
The
basically did
follow
follow
spot
spot. And I had a theory. Now, see what you think about this. Hitler,
Oh, yeah.
remember?
Seriously?
Hitler, he was very successful orator, public orator, and was very good live, apparently. And I suspect that Hitler would not have risen to such power if at that time they'd already invented the laser keyring,
Oh, yeah.
where you can shine a red
yeah.
dot on somebody.
Yes.
Because I think if you watch any Hitler speech, and they turn up on telly now and again, that if you imagine that with a red light dancing around on him, I think it undermines his authority tremendously.
Yes.
And it's little things like that that change history. That's
Agreed.
my view.
I
Carry
like.
on.
Point you're making, yeah.
I'd like to get your views, boys, on the role of the royal correspondent, which always strikes me as quite an odd sort of vocation, really.
Yeah.
Because some
Well,
of
when
the insights...
when I hear the phrase royal correspondent, I reach for my revolver. Who
Okay.
would want to? How? At what point in your career do you think I know what I'd like to be? A royal correspondent. It's
Well-
like It's not a journalist, is it? You wouldn't call that journalism
No.
as such.
No.
It's a really weird. I've talked about the way they taught. There was one interview on the telly who everything was, yes, well, of course, Her Majesty and
Well,
glory.
Frank-
And you think, sure, relax.
Well, your hands
Sorry.
might be loitering near the revolver cabinet because one of the royal correspondents, they were asked to give a comment on, Prince Philip reaching 99. And the quote went thus: given the panorama of experience they share, their interest in their children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I'm sure talking to them on the phone, on video calls, is a pleasure they share. I mean... What insight has that given us?
It's rubbish.
They like their children.
And also, do they talk like that all the time?
the panorama.
That's
of
what worries me
experience.
about royal correspondence. Is that's it? That's how they talk. There's nothing else left in there. They ought to, if I met a royal correspondent, I would be astonished if they were in colour. They really feel like they should be in black and white and slightly sort of scratchy, scratchy film. They are so... Hello, this is the BBC in London.
If you dated one, do you think during an intimate moment he would say to me, given the panorama of experience we are currently sharing? Because I'm not into that.
I think that's more than likely. I'm really so disappointed. I thought this whole thing was building towards when I dated a royal correspondent, and you have let me down. Most terrible. I snogged Jenny Bond once, but it was drink. Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show, we're not live. Sorry about that, but don't. However, you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or email us via the Absolute Radio website. We've been discussing a few things. We put some stuff out there about the Stratford-upon-Avon phenomenon.
Yes.
I want to call it the grandiose pronunciation of the mundane. Let's call it that.
Oh, very good.
Well, we've
GPMs.
had all sorts of responses. Firstly, just some responses, Frank, actually, to the overt upcycling, we're calling it, aren't we?
Overt recycling. I see what you've
Recycling.
combined too. overt recycling and upcycling are.
yes.
I don't know. I'm taking Alan's word for the upcycling. It sounds much trendier. I just like saying overt.
John Holcroft Illustrator, who's on Twitter, he suggested an old car wheel turned into a plant pot by slitting the tyre through the middle circumference and turning one side inside out, which formed the base.
Wow.
We also have from Susie C. using pennies as flooring.
Gravity.
Pennies as
Oh,
what?
yes. I think we once talked about pennies as flooring on here.
Oh,
A bloke had done his garage floor
that's right.
Oh, okay.
with,
Alex
with
Sugden.
two pence pieces.
Alex Sugden has orange peel ashtrays. I think that's just for a student, possibly.
Yeah, that is. I've used that as a temporary thing, but I don't know how long they last.
flat
They
needs
dry
tidying.
beautifully.
In your case, Frank,
Yeah.
what was that, 1981 through 4 or something? Laura
Yeah, something like
Gladwin has dictaphone cassettes, you know, the little cassettes you get, as earrings. Okay.
Now that is something.
They sound trendy, though.
Yeah, well, they've got. I think most people wouldn't know what they were, would they? What I like about them is they may contain her speech if she'd made them
yeah.
herself.
Yes.
I'd want to play them. I remember, I think Mick Jagger said that in a ribald party one night that he had one of his country homes that they took down. I think it was the Beggars Banquet album. I think it was Beggars Banquet. Anyway, yeah, they had a gold record for it, and they decided to play it. So they took the frame off and took it out of the glass, and it was Buddy Holly's greatest hits.
Oh.
So it seems that when you get your gold record, it's whatever records they've got lying about. It's not necessarily that record. But it would if she. What was the lady's name? Who the
lady who
dictaphone
talked
cassette?
about the dictaphone earrings is called Laura Gladwin.
Laura. If Laura's making her own stuff, then it'll be Laura's words, and it's quite nice, I think, always to have your own words in quite close proximity to your ears. That would be my view.
Frank,
but
you've
I
also
like
been
the sound of it.
talking. Sorry, you've also been talking about, you mentioned earlier, the comical nicknames for places.
GPMs.
David Stelling.
Grandiose pronunciations of the mundane.
That's the one. You've nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about you nailing it in that fashion is it also incorporates restaurants. We're going wider now. So David Stelling has reminded us that the Italian-owned theme pub he refers to as All Baroni, which is all bar one, was regularly called that,
Oh.
which is an attempt to make it sound
Yes.
grandiose. We're meeting at All Baroni. Do you see? And Martin
Good.
G
I'd
has
never heard that one before.
snore bands for St Albans, which is, rather rude.
Snore bands.
Yes.
Is that what it was? From the same caption making school as a newspaper, not a snooze paper. Remember that? It's one of the great advertising slogans of the 70s, shall we say?
Yeah.
I think it was the Daily Mail. Can you believe that caught on, was seen as an act of genius? A newspaper, not a snooze paper. From a time when the men of the house traditionally slept with a newspaper over their face to block out light. I suppose it had more of a direct reference than it does now.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Going back to the Duke of Edinburgh, the D of E, it said in the article I read that the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh have spent the whole of lockdown at Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
Now, as I recall, was there not a ban on going to your second home for lockdown?
Oh.
I'm not
I don't see
certain
them being pursued in a la Cummings.
Cummings
I'm
in
not
a
entirely
gilet.
sure that they're meant to follow the same rules as the rest of us. I don't think
Well,
quite
it's that
the gig.
kind of talk
Yeah.
that's given them. You'd think they'd be safe enough at Buckingham Palace, wouldn't you?
You would.
I mean, especially as the crowds have been very down over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I've noticed, anyway. So there was that, and then there was a very bizarre. I don't know if you saw this in one of the papers. It suggested that a picture of the Duke and the Queen, the royal family have a sort of a photo took for a special occasion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
so they've done a 99th birthday picture, and it was the Duke of Edinburgh and Her Majesty the Queen standing in the quadrangle at Windsor Castle, which you'd think would be easy enough to organise. And it's been treated by people. There's been lots of talk about how it's a fake picture with lots of
Photoshop.
It's been given the sort of moon landing treatment. I don't know if it's a quiet time for conspiracy theorists. You wouldn't think so
I wouldn't
at the
have
moment.
thought that, no.
But they've
have you seen the
really
photo,
gone to town.
boys?
It's a very standard picture, isn't it, of the Queen and Prince Philip standing in front of Windsor
That's what
Castle.
it looks like to me, but
Some are saying the backdrop looked overexposed and that the royals looked more shadowy.
Well, the camera cannot lie. What if there's a silhouette at one side, which is Prince Andrew?
there are some roles that do look more shadowy, yeah.
Some have been photoshopped out altogether of the
Exactly.
portraits.
But they've made an enormous thing. One of the things is that, by the way, wouldn't it have been brilliant if they'd had a photograph of the Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen, and the caption had been, "I've got 99 problems, ...
Oh, God, that would have been good. I think he would have liked that.
I mean, they go on and on. There's something wrong with the Queen's hands.
Yes.
It's been altered in Photoshop and all that
But
sort
why
of stuff.
would anyone Photoshop the Queen's hands?
Well,
and
that's
also,
what I thought was odd.
it's a bit insensitive. I mean, even my own hands now, but certainly the hands of the very elderly never look quite like they're from human species. I mean, they look quite a bit different.
Maybe
Don't bring
that's
it
why
up.
they've had to Photoshop the hands, because of all the hand washing from the COVID.
They
Perhaps
haven't
they've just
photoshopped.
got
What's she going to say? Can you
hands.
help a girl out with some filter action? They don't know
Yeah.
about Photoshop.
Besides, they've probably they've ripened. Years of being in gloves in complete darkness. They've ripened into some sort of dark horror.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were discussing this mysterious photograph of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, which has been seized on by conspiracy theorists because it includes Photoshop, apparently. Do you have any theories? I mean, no one. They're going on about the Queen's hands looking like they've been put on. No one's mentioned that the Duke. Someone seems to have put Darth Maul's head on the Duke of Edinburgh, and that's gone unnoticed.
They could have put
all
some
the discussion
kind of lightness filter across his face, couldn't they?
Exactly. But the Queen's hands, which is a lovely pub, I must say. You never get the Queen's hands, do you? You get the head and
Oh yeah,
all
that's
that.
true.
Arms.
Do
I
you
think
get
you
any
get the
other
Queen's
body
arms.
parts? No, not the Queen's
you don't
feet.
get. No, the Queen's. You don't know. But the arms I've seen. I think the Queen's arms you can have. Can't you spend the night in the Queen's arms?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's
It must
my
be,
son actually. Sorry, carry on.
It must be strange for Prince Philip to be in a story that includes Photoshop when he's 99, because presumably he's been in pictures going right back to pretty basic cameras.
Well, there was a time when an event like this would have an oil painting, wouldn't it? That accompanied it.
Talking of which, did you read in the 99 facts as opposed to problems? An art expert said Philip is a keen oil painter.
Yeah,
and the review of his work I enjoyed enormously because, again, that's so Prince Philip. He said it's exactly what you would expect. Totally direct, no hanging about. I mean,
yes,
it's a review, but if that was of my art, I think I'd feel a bit disappointed.
Exactly. I'm not rushing. Well, I didn't Google image his art. After that,
there's arguably an even less kind review of Prince Philip in there, because it said that the historian David Starkey describes him as HRH Victor Meldrew.
And one foot in the grave.
I think he probably means like he's like a grumpy old man. But I thought,
I see.
Glass houses, David Starkey. He's got.
I think it. Yeah. I think it means that Dachshund handset that he's got at Windsor Castle that he uses. It's I don't know. It's difficult. But my son this week, out of the blue, we weren't even talking about the Queen or anything. He just said, "You never see the Queen in leggings, do you?"
It's a great observation.
It's true, but. No, you can't build an act on that, I thought. But as you say, I was surprised they had funny jokes that were non-offensive, funny jokes from to anyone. I think Duke of Edinburgh, and they were properly good gags. So it's different, isn't it? Because the modern, like if I may call them Megri and Catium, those two couples. There seems to be a battle now between them, a sort of global battle to see who cares the most about contemporary social issues. And it really took me back to the Geldof Bono Most Compassionate Irishman wars of the early 2000s, when they were, it was a fiercely made the Glasgow ice cream wars look like a walk in the park. I care more than you do. It was that was an Irish accent. It was Scottish. I can't remember who got involved. Maybe the Midge were again sticking his nose in where it's it may be wanted, but it was often snubbed.
Frank Skinner,
Absolute Radio.
So again, my mind wanders to the outside world and what glories might have been incoming this week.
Well, we've had some missives in from things that we discussed last week, and one that I'd like to bring to your attention was we were discussing mnemonics, and you brought up the 30 days because you were caught on the hop by the 31st of May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, which it's not foolproof. The 30 days had September, because the April, June, and November, I think it is. It's easy to get April, May, and November and stuff in there. It needs to rhyme, these things.
We've had many people suggesting good mnemonics, but I'm not as attracted to that as I am to Rob Doyle's message saying, can I submit something worse than 30 days? And he suggests, remember the 5th of November. Loads of room to get the number and the month wrong.
Yeah.
Remember the 6th of December, anyone?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
Rob.
there's so much scope.
Yeah.
I mean, also, how does it continue? Gunpowder, treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder, treason should ever be forgot. Well, I do. I'd give you one big reason, but never mind.
I did wonder if you were going to be triggered
why
by
did
this.
you bring up the 5th of November? I mean, come on. We know what we're dealing with here.
Don't even start me on the people of Lewis in Sussex. Anyway,
It's nice knowing you guys. We've had a few, actually. We've had 230, who says, Frank, on the London Knowledge, it's all little grows quickly for the theatres on Shaftesbury Avenue, which is the Apollo, the Lyric, the Gielgud and the Queen's Theatres. That's from Ray the Cabbie, who I believe might be a regular. So, yeah, good way to remember
what is
that.
it? What's the mnemonic again?
It's all little, not Ralph Little, all little grows quickly. And that's Apollo, Lyric, Gielgud and Queen's. There you go.
I remember
way to
you
remember.
telling me, you told me a very helpful mnemonic for remembering.
I'm afraid
but we can't do that. No, we
it's
can't.
very
No.
rude. Yes.
No, we won't do that. I'll tell you what I would like, in an ideal world, if somebody can construct a mnemonic. By the way, if you're new to the show and new in some ways to the outskirts of the English language, a mnemonic is a something that a rhyme or whatever that anything that helps you to remember something. I wonder if any of our readers could use Namone, I don't know if she's still at Radio 1, but remember there's a Radio 1 DJ called Namone.
Yes.
I thought it'd be very good if Namone, which I think is INMONE. It's like, it's like Nina Simone has been conflated into Namone. I wondered if wouldn't it be great to have a mnemonic based on Namone's name, because she's moving towards mnemonic as an actual title. Those are the sort of things I think.
Well, Peter Howell has suggested memory needs every method of nurturing its capacity as a mnemonic for spelling mnemonic.
Wow.
I've forgotten it already, Peter.
Are you still there?
God, I thought the Namone mnemonic was basically turning the whole thing inside out, but this one, I think we now are just a tiny dot in the centre of the screen. But having said that, of course, I'm loving it.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Boys, before we go, I'd like to ask you, it's sort of a male etiquette question, really, where you stand on this. I went to my best friend Jane, it was her birthday this week, and she had a very responsible birthday celebration with just sort of, key family members, the bubble, as I believe they're calling it. Mm. And David Baddiel was there with his partner, Morwenna Banks, and they were kept at arm's length. No offence, but that's the way it has to be right now, as we all know.
Yeah.
We watched a film which was lovely in the garden, all spaced out. We watched Spirited Away, which is a charming, beautiful
that's nice.
film.
I don't know
Very
if you should have admitted that you were all spaced out.
I'd rather be accused of that now than
we
being
know
close
what
to
we know what showbiz parties are like, but I don't think you have to rub our noses in it.
Can I say that was not the case? It was very atmospheric, Frank. We had our own blankets. We had a lovely fire. It was lovely, beautiful animated film. Suddenly,
it's a lovely film. Can I just say, before we go on to that, Jonathan Ross sent me those Studio Ghibli that make Spirited Away. Spirited Away was their moment when they sort of went a bit more pop mainstream. But there's one called, I think it's called My Neighbour Totoro, My Brother Totoro.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah.
Which I think is really sensational. I would recommend that to anyone.
Oh.
Sorry, please carry on.
No, that'll be my next. Well, so as you can imagine, I'm painting the scene here. The whole thing was so atmospheric and absolutely, I mean, we had little jars with little fairy lights in them glowing. Then, I suddenly hear this voice, David Baddiel, I need the toilet. Okay. Excuse me, everyone. And he goes over to the bushes at the edge of the garden to relieve himself. I appreciate he was in a needs-must situation, and it was better than going into the house, wasn't it?
Mm.
But, I mean, where do you stand on this? I'm not saying he's
nowhere
got
near the bush, for a start-off.
I mean, it was only 6 months ago. He did it in a car park when I was with him.
Did he?
Really?
Yes. I mean, he was urgent. And I should say he's a responsible man. He made sure he was completely hidden and out of sight. But I couldn't unknow that. And I was...
Did he run it by the hosts? I don't mean the urine. I mean the theory of doing it.
Oh, yes, he's very
You don't want to
polite,
run
David.
it too close to the hosts.
Did he run it by the hosts? Get that out of my head. No, David's got immaculate manners, but
yes.
it's an odd thing for me, because the back gets turned and I know what's going on, and he did the right thing, but it's a difficult thing when a male friend does that. It is,
yeah, it's a difficult... I mean, we've all... when you drive down the motorway and there's about 20 blokes all lined up, all obviously doing it. Football, I'm thinking football excursion.
Although I think he is abiding by the letter of the law of the nation now. I think that is how the government wants us to pass water when we're at our friends' houses in their gardens.
In each other's gardens.
I think so.
Well, thanks for the heads up. See you next Saturday, Frank.
Good for the apple tree.
I travel with a vessel. Anyway, so look, it's been lovely talking. Thank you so much. And it's ruined that ship I had in there. Sarah Champion is up next. Listen to her. I'm sorry, Sarah, I don't have jingles here. Tell you what, Champion, the Wonder Horse. That's all I can come up with live. But thank you all so much for listening. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Go form a bobble.
This